Hello everyone. In this session, I would like to discuss about the TypeScript. As we discussed in the last video, my Angular is an open source framework introduced by Google Corporation. It supports for multiple languages to write the code. It's like ES5 we can write it, ES6 we can write it, TypeScript we can write it, some other language also you can use it. But most of the people are using like TypeScript. But TypeScript is like a pure object-oriented programming language introduced by Microsoft. It's like a strongly typed programming language, not like ES6. So if you want to work with TypeScript, if you want to create one TypeScript program and run and see the output individually, then we need to follow this process. First of all, install Node.js in your machine. Node.js software, it's a software. After that, in your command prompt, run this command. TypeScript. Why this command means to make your TypeScript compiler is available in your machine. After that, create one TS program. For example, some.ts you can create. Write the logic based on your requirement. After that, compile your program. Some.ts. If you want to compile, then I already told, right, TypeScript compiler already available in your machine. So you can run this compiler command tsc some.ts. Once you compile your TS program, it's turned to be a JS. Okay, so create one some.js some.js. Now you can run your compiled JS file. Okay, and then you can see output. If you want to run your TypeScript program individually, these are the steps you have to follow. In my machine already I installed Node software. I already run this command in my command prompt, so leave it. Now I want to create one TS file. Open Visual Studio Code. I preferred this Visual Studio Code IDE to run or to write your JavaScript related or TypeScript related code. Now come here, some.ts. It's an object oriented, so class you can use it. My class name is like a sum. It's like a strongly typed, so one number is nothing but a variable I created with some type is like a number. N2, my type is like number. I have one method is there, and here you can write I want to find the sum of these two variables. Inside a class, if you want to represent one variable by using an object, it's possible. My object name is like this dot n1 plus this dot n2. Done. My class ready. So if you want to get the services from the class, you can create an object and then you can run or call the method. You can call the method. Okay, done. So, I think I use like the same program. No problem, we can run it. Okay, done. Now, what we have to do? Once you've written the program, you have to compile it by using TS. So, compile it. TypeScript compiler is the one. My sum.ts is the file. See, if you compile, it looks like this. Sum.js created or not. My sum.js is like an equivalent file of your TS. See, one JavaScript class, functional class created, one method inherited into that class, and then return the sum is nothing but return the class by this method. This method you call is nothing but this method returns me a class. So my sum holds some class or not. For that sum class, he created an object and called the method. That's it. Once you compile, now run it. If you want to run the JS file, okay, how you can? By using node, node command, we can run it. So node sum.js. Now see, you can see the output is like 30. You can see the output is like 30. Done. This is the way you can create one simple TypeScript file and compile it into JS and run that JS file. Now, I already told you my TypeScript is like a strongly typed programming language. See this. This dot n1. Okay, no, this one. Okay, n1. It's a number type. Okay. For example, instead of that one, if you put like a string, see it gives me an error like what? Type 10 is not assignable to type string. So here, if we put like a boolean, type 20 is not assignable to my boolean type or not. That means the variable you created by using which type, that type data only it can hold it or not. So you have to keep that one in your mind. For example, you not mentioned any type. Then that time, now see this. There is no error, nothing. Means if you want to use that type, you can use it. Otherwise, leave it. There has one universal type also there. Universal type. Number, string, boolean, number array, string array, not like that. The universal type is like any. If you mentioned the any type to one variable, that variable can hold any type of data. See this. It's for example string. It gives me an error. Why? Because number you assign to string. That is the error. Here string, but my n1 is which type? Any type. Here my any can hold any type of data. My any data can hold any type of data. 10, no problem. Okay, object, no problem. Array, no problem. It can hold any type of data. That one also you have to keep in your mind. The next one, you can create some user defined data types also by using interfaces we can create. How we can means just you can create interface. iPlayer, interface player. Inside this interface, you can create some data, okay, which is related to player. My name, it's like a string type. My roll name, my runs, not roll number. My runs is like number data. When you can go with interface means, if you want to represent multiple properties in a single type, then you can go with interface. See this. Name is one type, runs is one type, but my total type, okay, is like a player one or not. Multiple properties if you want to represent with a single type, then you can go with user defined data types. Now come here, you can create a class player, my player. This is my class. Here I want to create an object, player data. If my data is type is like a iPlayer, if you try to mention some data here, now see this, you should have to follow the type of this particular properties. My data, see this, iPlayer name and runs missing or not. If you mention like a name, Sachin, and you can mention like a runs 20,000, yes, there is no issues or not. There is no issues. For example, think Here runs is like okay, it's a string data. Now see, my runs is like not assignable type to number. Why? Because my runs type already mentioned here or not. Already mentioned here or multiple variables types you mentioned within a single variable interface or not. So if you want to work with runs, my runs type is like what? My runs type is like a number or not. So that you have to mention the number like this. Like this. Okay, if you want to find the details of the player, function get info. Here console.log of my this dot data dot what is my name? This is my name. And then his runs this dot data dot runs like this you can. Now can we compile it? ESC my sum.ts. Can we run it? Now if you open the sum.js, it's related to player. It's related to player. Now can we run the JS file? How we can run it? Node sum. If you come here, my node sum. See, you not call this method at least. You have to call it. You have to create an object. New my player. Okay, don't worry about that red marks. Obj dot function get info. Like this you can call it. So again you can compile. Yeah, I compiled. Now you can run it. Or we can run node like this. See, you can get like such in 20,000 or not. This is the way you can define user-defined data types. You can define and use the user-defined data types like this. And one more thing, in your programming language, object-oriented programming language, constructor also takes an important role, plays an important role like perform initialization. Okay, here also we can use a construct. So we can create one class A, for example. Here we can write like a construct. When you can go with the constructor, where that is when my constructor is going to execute at the time of creating an object. If you want proof, this is one of the proof. Yeah, as like all programming languages, constructor executed. So can we compile it? Can we run it? Constructor executed. Here, when exactly you can go with the constructor means to perform initialization for the variables. For example, I have two variables are there. N1 is type like a number, N2 type like number. These two variables get some data from outside. That data I want to initialize. Then it's take like two arguments. So here you can mention like that type of the arguments. Here also you can mention number type. So the data which is coming from outside at the time of creating an object, that data you have to initialize to my variables or not. So how we can, my this dot n1 equals to n1, my this dot n2 equals to n. Done. Once it is done, if you want to find the sum, console dot log of this dot n1 plus this dot n2. Now can we come here, function sum? Now see this, you can compile it and then you can run it. Now see, constructor executed, my value like 30 or not. My value is like 30 or not. For example, if you change it to 100 and 200, okay, you made the changes in the TS file. That means that file has to compile first. And then you can run it. My output is like 300 or not. These are the basic things to work with TypeScript. At the same time, these basic things only we are going to use in Angular application development also. Thanks guys. Thanks for watching.